at UJ, you submit your thesis, your 300 pages, and then you defend it.
It's a lot, eh?
And
she's like, your 300 pages as if it's just like a pamphlet.
it's like 80,000 words, 70, and it's like everyone does it. And I think academia for me has helped me with that. Like to be able to appreciate the gift that I am, right? But also to know, but I'm not the only gift in the room. And yeah.
We just came out of Youth Month. And one of the things I'm thinking about, and I think I had a conversation with you about this, is how even when we think about giftedness, right? We often think about what is in us and not what has been handed over to us, right?
So, and they would always say to him, but why would you waste your cows to pay for bursaries, for to pay for education for women, right? When my grandfather did that for my aunt. And so I listened to those things growing up, and I knew that there is a world that this man has broken for the women in my family. My PhD was on Black women and transformation, and a lot of times I felt I have a lived experience. I have an embodied experience. And guys, the PhD is such a humbling exercise. Something happened in one of I presented my work last year, and in that same room, does this go on Facebook? Like, does this go on social media?
Yes.
Okay, maybe it doesn't matter. So, hi guys. Ninjani.
Wow.
Because one thing about Toby is we come a long way. That's it.
We come a very, very, very long way. But I think some of the people don't know you as I know you. Some of them, I introduced you to them. But yeah, let's start here. I'm also going to give you some quick fire questions. I didn't include them in the brief again. Introvert or extrovert?
Introvert.
Do you guys agree?
Guys, this is me. Dithetha ngam, introvert. Shocking.
Sometimes I would have coffee with her, and I could count the number of words I said in there. Early mornings or late nights?
Late nights.
Why?
I function better at night. Yeah, I'm more active at night.
Books or podcast?
Books.
Any day, every day, obviously.
Any day, every day.
Writing or speaking?
Writing?
I knew.
Writing maybe, I don't like speaking as much as people think I do. Writing is becoming tricky because as an academic I have to write, and sometimes it feels like a job. So it takes from the passion. Yeah. But
okay.
Writing.
Planning or improvising?
Planning to the T. Yeah. You don't agree? Why are you laughing?
Okay. Let's pass that. Let's move on. So let's get to the gifts now.
Why are you laughing? Like unkolelo?
No, it's your answer. I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay, Mtabisi is a type A personality. And next to him, anyone looks like a haphazard personality. It's not that I'm not organized. It's just that he's too organized. So I am organized in my own way. I don't improvise all the time at everything.
Well, we're gonna leave it there. It doesn't have to be a debate, right? So tell me, which is one of your gifts that you think you have underestimated for years?
I think I underestimated my voice for years, just to speak and even to teach. And it's delayed me in some ways. Yeah.
I love how you are embracing it now. but we'll get to that. And then the last part, if your gift was a warning label, what would it say?
If my gift. So this is tricky because when you say gift, what do you mean? Like what
Whichever gift. I know you are multi-gifted, multi-dimensional being.
Okay, can I just say warning hot?
Wow! You guys didn't get it. Me, I got it. Wow, okay. Finish this sentence. I knew I was gifted when?
Oh, guys, this is so hard. We've come to Zion indeed. I don't know how to answer that. I really don't.
You can't not answer it.
I mean, I knew I was gifted when I saw myself do things.
See, that's an answer, right? Can we clap hands for her? If you didn't clap, I'm going to ask you to clap alone. Let's clap hands for her. But maybe just to get into the actual things now.
Sure. The things we prepared and planned.
I just want to start by congratulating you on graduating with your PhD. Guys, that's not a small thing, eh? And I really, really want to congratulate you for that, and also just commend you for how I have seen you celebrate that. I think for me, that's something that's so powerful. Like, I think looking back at my own journey, I think was like, it's just another degree. But as I look back and I look at how you are celebrating it and how you are dragging the celebration for as long as it can last. And if you can drag it even longer, I would say drag it as long as it can last, because that is no small thing. So congratulations, my friend. And it's just so amazing to witness you become all that you have always been. You know, I think the journey of the PhD hid a lot of you from us, and we are beginning to see the unleashing of this Thando that we have always believed is there.
Thank you.
I remember some of the conversations we would have when we would have our work dates. You helped me a lot in my own journey of the PhD. When I was struggling, you'll be there to read my own stuff. And I'm grateful for the opportunity I had to be there when it was your turn to do it. And my name is somewhere in there. If you go to the library. So thank you so much, and thank you so much for the friend that you have been. And I don't want to say a lot, because had it not been for you and what you did for me, I probably would not be a believer today. I remember there's a day where there was a complete transformation in my life when we were at Campus Square and had coffee.
I remember.
And I had made a decision that if I get an opportunity, I'm going to mess up. Because I was in a space and a time in my life where I felt like, God, you've disappointed me. I've been so faithful to you. And when I thought this is what is going to work the way I thought it would, I prayed, I did this, and it just didn't. And I'm like, Mara, what's the point of continuing to serve God the way I served him? What's the point of continuing to be, so passionate about living your life on purpose and doing things for the Lord and maximizing your gifts? And I had just given up. And had it not been for that conversation, I don't think I would be standing here today. So thank you.
Thank you, friend.
I really want to thank you in front of everyone. And I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Undlela. What did you have to say no? to be able to get to where you are now with the PhD?
So I think I'm still stuck on what you just said because like we've never had that conversation. So if you'll allow me, I think we speak a lot about community. We speak a lot about friendships. There's so much that happens. I don't know how to say this, but I think it's very important for us to honor the people we're journeying with by being real. And what Umtobisi and I have shared over the years is that, we were clear like on day one that we love each other, we're friends. He's my brother. And we didn't necessarily agree on a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
But we agreed on things that matter. And so I want to thank you as well, for having been that vulnerable, at that time. I think when we're trying to build our relationship, because I like doing that. I like reading with people I like. So we read a book together, and then we read Daring Greatly. I read with you. I read with Tapelo. I read with Nombai, and it was just like nice to do that. And that season of your PhD became sort of practicals for you, and so thank you also, for. I think you've also taught me a different kind of masculinity, and I appreciate that. So thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So what I had to say no to, there are certain relationships I had to say no to. There are certain friendships I had to say no to. I also had to be real and understand about my life is different. Like, I love a boring life. I love a life that people think is boring. Like, my life doesn't have to be this exciting thing. Like, I don't need.
But I actually think your life is exciting.
And that's crazy to me, because I think I lead a very normal, nice life, just a girl with Jesus.
Nice life.
Who loves her books, and the Lord has helped me to create a life I like, But I think my life can be quite boring to certain friends, especially in varsity. In varsity, the pace is quite fast. I was called boring for a long time. I didn't look like this. I revealed to Vanessa the other day, but I'm actually the girl with the skirts and the dukes and no earrings, and this is all new. And so, like, so I've always known. I think especially when I was doing my masters, because I think then it mattered because I was in varsity. So I had to say no to a lot of friendships. There were certain people I knew, but if I let this voice be dominant in my life, I won't get where I need to get. Even with my PhD, there's a person who was building a friendship with me, and they said, you're sleeping on yourself. And they were relating that to a kind of Joburg lifestyle that I pray to God I never, ever, am taken by. And so there are people in academia who don't think I'm cool enough, and I've had to say no. I've had to say no to certain mentorships. There's certain people like where I was like, I can't have this person speak over my life. So I've had to say no to quite a lot of those things. Yeah. Maybe,
Interesting.
yeah.
And I'm asking this because I think it's something that is very important for many of us to understand about maximizing your gift. It takes you saying no to certain things to say yes to some things, right? And I do want to ask you again, like reflecting on my own journey, and I want to see if this is also like something similar to your own experience. What about doing the PhD, or what has doing the PhD revealed about your own giftedness? Because before I just give back to you, I think in my own experience, I think doing the PhD really uncovered the writer that I actually am. And I think I write with so much confidence now that I have done the PhD. And I want to see in your own experience what has it done for your giftedness.
So So I come from a family where my father celebrated me a little bit too much, I think. And I speak freely about this, even with my siblings. I am more extroverted at home than I naturally am. And so my dad was very extroverted, was the leader, was the vibrant, you know, and I think those personalities, they go well together. And when you are a person who's always pushed to the front, at least at my home church, I was always in the front, I was always speaking. I don't think I listened as much as I needed to.
Sure.
And there's a weird thing that happened with my supervisor where I started to feel like God wanted me to view him as a father, because I was being supervised by a man doing a critical psychology study, and I do feminist research, and I wanted a woman. Like I started adverts with a woman, and when I went to UJ, my supervisor, who's still my mentor, said, stay at UJ, do with UJ so that they can pay for your fees and then so that they can support you. And that was that helped. So I listened. That was listening to Peace when she says, go to Brandon. And then even with Brandon, there's a lot of ideas I had. I look at it, I'm like, how was that going to be a PhD? So I had to listen to him and trust that this guy is a professor, And when you do, my PhD was on Black women and transformation. And a lot of times I felt I have a lived experience. I have an embodied experience.
Yo.
Awungitsheli lokho. And guys, the PhD is such a humbling exercise because you also realize that you're smart, and then? So what, And there's like other things that matter. And when you study psychology, you're celebrated for the A's, for the distinctions. You're not celebrated for character. You're not celebrated for being a good person. And so when you do a PhD, your supervisor can fire you. 2 years in, your supervisor can say, I can't work with umto ngesixhosa oqaqathekileyo. Like, I can't work with you, So I had to, I think it taught me that. Right at the end, after it felt like a beating, where I was like, this thing has completely finished me, it has taken so much from me, and I've missed out on possible marriages.
Oh, Jesus.
And, because the guys were like, no. When you say, this is who I am, this is who I am, and then they're like, or they tell you who they are, and you're like, based on the journey. So there's a after that, feeling like I was beat down quite a lot. There's a thing that happened like 6 months. Like the last 6 months of the PhD, where I enjoyed writing. I started to see, there's this thing, man, guys, and I tell my students as well, and they don't believe me. It's almost as if you were doing this PhD for 4 years, but you really needed 6 months.
Yeah.
Suddenly, your chapter 1, you're like, no, man, this is what I wanted to do there. And I saw myself do that. I saw myself spend, dedicating time to a thing until it became this thing that I wanted it to be. And I think that's a gift, Sonia watched me through it, and it's a mess. It doesn't look as neat and as beautiful, everything was a mess. But it does something to your spirit, to know that I can do that. And then, back to my voice.
Yeah.
At UJ, you submit your thesis, your 300 pages, and then you defend it.
It's a lot, eh?
And
she's like, your 300 pages as if it's just like a pamphlet.
It's like 80,000 words, 70, and it's like everyone does it. But UJ has added a thing where you defend, right? It's an American, maybe a European thing. The Viva. So we have the Viva. And terrifying. But I get there, and you're not told who's going to be sitting there, but you're about to meet the people who are marking you, right? And you see, this is probably a reviewer 1, this is 2, this is 3, based on the comments, right? And my comments were not horrible, but I was so defeated by the thing that I didn't believe a lot of what was said. And when you sit there and you realize that I contributed to a body of knowledge, that does something to you.
Sure.
But it's also important, like you're holding these two things, but I contributed, that's great, that's big, right? But it's also contributing to this, so that, Paul, Jita, it's okay, like, ungaphapi, ungacingi ba, fans ba, yabo. And I think academia for me has helped me with that, like to be able to appreciate the gift that I am, right? But also to know, but I'm not the only gift in the room.
Yo.
You know, and yeah, I could, like, even literally now, like, all of you guys are sitting and listening to us, like, what do you mean? You guys are so gifted, you know?
Yeah.
But an opportunity has been given to me to sit, you know? And it is an honor. So I hold these two things.
That's so powerful.
So nicely than I ever did.
Sure. Yeah. I told you. I told you. So look at this, Thando. One of the things you're touching on is your relationship with your supervisor, who is now your mentor, and as you say, you'd never really thought it would be what it is now. I really want to pick your brain on what have you seen being the role of relationships generally in helping you really recognize. Because sometimes, as Ndlela said, it is people that help us recognize, right? So in your own journey, what has been the role of relationships in helping you recognize and sometimes even affirm some of the gifts that are in you?
So because we speak about my supervisor, I'm reminded of a thing we're building. So I'm an executive member of SAISA, which is a South African division of psychologists, right? And something happened in one of I presented my work last year, and in that same room, does this go on Facebook? Like, does this go on social media?
Yes.
Okay, maybe it doesn't matter. So, I mean, I'll say it. I mean, I think I'll say it. I won't say his name. So, I present my work, and then there's a man who doesn't look like me.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Right?
Yeah.
And he, my work builds on decolonial psychology, which is a thing Sisazana. Yes, we're trying to build a thing here. And Brazil has got it. Part of the global south has got it. South Africa, And then this man stands, having cited AI, like, you can see AI references when you've been reading for years, right? And you can tell, if you give me a definition of African psychology, I can tell that you're lying, you didn't read that, right? So it does this, wishy-washy thing, which basically just tells us, all my mentors are nonsense. All the work we've been doing is zero. And after his presentation, during Q&A, the room goes, shh. Nah? All my mentors are here, people I love and I admire. Two of us stand, women, young-ish. So, of course, I'm angry, And I'm like, I go. And then Julia as well goes. And then silence. And I think I expected the people I know who are in this room who've been contributing to the scholarship to say something. So as we're walking, Brandon, my supervisor, says to me, you guys have everything you need to continue and to build the scholarship. We've done everything we needed to do. This is a man in his 50s, right? And these are people this is the youth of 1976, maybe. Like, they have been working.
Yeah.
And to say they are tired, I don't mean it in a bad way. They've built an African scholarship, what we were taught, right? And basically what he's saying is, what will your generation do? If you're always going to enter these rooms, and when something happens, you're going to look at someone who's older than you. But say something, Ted. It's like you have everything. Like, in other words, we've done everything we needed to do. So we went for dinner and we established a thing. We're building a very big thing that is going to impact black psychologists in academia now. Right?
Sure.
From that, what was your question?
It's fine. Do you see I wasn't lying? Do you see I wasn't lying? So let's forget it. Let's talk about this. You are touching about how some of the people in there were the generation of 1976. We just came out of Youth Month. And one of the things I'm thinking about, and I think I had a conversation with you about this, is how even when we think about giftedness, right, we often think about what is in us and not what has been handed over to us, right? I want you to talk about two things. One, it's the gift of freedom, which we have and enjoy, and how our ability to steward that gives us access or ability to be able to do and build things that our parents would not have been able to build, right? One. And then two, I want you to speak about how we have this conversation all the time. The inheritance of faith in your family. You speak about how you pursuing the PhD was actually a prophecy that was given by your grandfather. Talk to us about that as the kind of gifts that we often never really see as gifts.
So it's funny, Tsulu and I were speaking about how we got born again on our way. And we're speaking about how, like sometimes the revival, when we define it as this big tent, can be so limiting. And maybe it's the enemy's tool to ensure that at homes we don't ignite the fire. And for both of us, we're speaking about how, it was before prayer, before it was like family prayer. And then I was like, like something had already broken. I was like, I want to accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior, right? Because my parents had built an altar.
Yeah.
And that's what they did for us, right? And so my coming to Christ was not this. Sometimes, like, I wish I knew by what date, Kwakteni, there was this big preacher. There was no word. It was like family prayer, and then, and that's it. And that's the kind of family I come from. So, but before that, my grandfather is the first man to accept Christ. So they come from, like, there's a big split in Mambemvini where there are people who are in ancestral worship, and then there's the church, right? And he proclaimed Christ. He brought Christ into our family. And also, like, this man was born in 1924. So when he then has his children in their 50s and maybe 40s, 50s to whatever, he then he has quite a lot of girls. And one of the things that he kept saying, Use Zilalin in Kofimvaba, is that the women in my house will be educated. And that was a political statement at that time. Because ngesixhosa kuthiwa ingcwaba lentombi lisemzini, which means we raise you for someone else. So, and they would always say to him, but why would you waste your cows to pay for bursaries, for, to pay for education for women, right? When my grandfather did that for my aunt. And so I listened to those things growing up. And I knew, but there is a world that this man has broken for the women in my family.
Yeah.
So being close then to him affords me the opportunity to understand, but what's happening at Kaya, and what can I benefit, right?
Sure.
By the age of 13, he's already spoken it. He says it because of a thing I was doing. But, which means you are going to be a doctor, very casually, né? Which means when you are going to be a doctor. Okay, we continue, and then he stops calling me Thandokazi. Until the day he died, Utamkuluam called me Doc. That was years ago, right? And I think if I was like fanning the gift, I probably, that should have been the awakening. Like I should have been, Doc, okay. And then, but I didn't have Mfundisi's story. So it happened, and then it happened. And then I continued with my life. And then I decided to do psychology. The doctor thing then happens later. With also like a shift in my gifting. When I start to see myself doing some healing work in a certain way. Then I started to understand. And when I'm also trying to to learn about what's happening inside of me. Why am I moved the way that I'm moved? Why do I cry? Why do I cry like this over certain things? Why am I touched in this way and that way? And then I began to understand. So there's some work that I had to do because the word is spoken, but then I had to cultivate it, right? So for me, that's what the gift of faith and the legacy, that inheritance of faith in my family, what it has done.
Talk about the freedom now.
I'm very aware that a lot of people, even in my family, there are places I've gone to that no one has been. Yeah. No one has left the country.
Sure.
In my entire lineage. And I mean, my grandfather has 11 children. And those 11 children have children on children on children. My dad alone has 6 plus bonus kids.
Oh, Jesus.
So there's a lot of us. And there's a lot of things I had to be the first to do. When we were marching, during Fees Must Fall, and when my dad saw the fire in me, he pushed me. Like, I remember I was like, I'm not sure if I should go to the union building. He's like, go.
Yo.
And then when we had the conversation, he told me about how he couldn't. About how, in his time, you had to decide, ungumzalwane, uyi activist. You could not imagine a God of justice and a God who cares for black people in that way. And also he knew, Bana, there is a fire in you that I saw when you were even a small child. And I've had to navigate my life with this fire and ensure I don't burn myself and I don't burn relationships and I do it well. And him pushing me to be active in, during Fees Must Fall is also, I'm answering you, but also I'm connecting even to that legacy of faith because it's such a gift. And maybe if your parents are not able to be that, you get to be that.
Yeah.
You get to watch your child to be attentive and to see the gift and to help them connect the lines so that they don't take 20 years to get where the Lord wants them to get. So that's that. So I'm very aware that there are places I speak kuzo where women were never allowed to. And so I don't keep quiet when I need to speak. I very much use my voice, because I am aware. So I'm aware of that kind of freedom and the responsibility that, I carry for my sister who is 16, for my children, for other girls, for other women.
Yeah. And how is it like, or what does it look like for us as young people? Many of us were almost born free or were born free to steward the gift of freedom.
I think responsibly, I think for me, so it depends where you are. So if I'm speaking as a psychologist, one of the things that we had to do is we had to go and read Manganye's work, the first black clinical psychologist. And that's honoring the fact that there were people who did this before me, and learning about how did this man navigate this hostile white system at that time, and what is his legacy, and build on his legacy, and build curriculum that is founded on his work and not sideline him or silence him or remove him completely as he has been done in our time. So, and that's responsibility. You have that responsibility to read the books and to read them well and to read all of the books, right? And to understand. So, yeah, so the thing is we're online. That's my problem.
The problem is that we're online.
The problem is there are cameras. So my thing is, you have this freedom where there are books that were banned and they are not anymore. There are people, you've got grandfathers, and there are people you can speak to about what really was happening at that time. But you are refusing to. You are listening to, you have to absolutely cut this part. There's a responsibility we have. And I mean, I love podcasts. Yes, I chose books, but I love podcasts. But there is a responsibility that I feel like we forget. But there's an 11-year-old Ndaba who is watching this thing and is trying to understand the world, and you've provided a lens that is so flawed. So I think we forget. And sometimes when you look at the history books, then you will remember, about, what? There is a freedom, and I must nurture it, different. I just have to carry it with a sense of responsibility.
Sure. That's powerful. So now I want to ask you about this. In the jumpstart effect, I speak about how yeah. Yeah, yeah.
In
In the
my book,
jumpstart effect, I define inspiration as the arousal of intrinsic motivation, which is to say, there's somebody who's looking at you sitting on this, well, we'll say a stage. You are up front, you are speaking in big stages. Before you came here, you were coming from speaking. And we've seen what you're doing on social media, the kind of work that you're doing. And, we're like, yeah, Tando is doing well. How do you, how do you, how do we get to that point where our ability to see other people's giftedness and their flourishing in their giftedness does not make us minimize our own giftedness, but instead encourage us to maximize our own giftedness in the same way that they are doing theirs?
we do what we're supposed to be doing. The minute you cease, the minute you pause, the minute you have time enough to watch me, like I think be inspired, watch other people, learn from other people, but you need to get busy with what the Lord has asked you to do. Because at times we are sitting like this, just scrolling, like watching what other people are doing to a point where it taints you. Because now there's like this imposter where you are watching and you're like, I could never do it. It could never be me. I think you just need to act. You need to move in your own gifting. And then the inspiration then becomes different, I think, because there's a thing that we are doing where we treat each other, ngathi sizi-fans, where instead of being inspired and being curious to know, but what do you have to do that? I was telling Tsego about the things that she does that I watch and I never tell her. Like I would watch her live and I'm like, wow, and I was telling her, but I watched something you did and this is what I am doing.
Sure.
Because of that. And not for anything, but to say, like, just continue doing what you're doing, So I think do that which the Lord says, and ungazijongeli phansi. It's such a beautiful gift to live in a digital time, but it's also so sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad. I was speaking where Apostle Sukakon, I was speaking to ministers who are struggling with just, this, young people. But young people want a vibe. Young people call our churches boring. I'm like, Mfundisi, preach the word. Preach the word. Focus on that, So there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of other stuff where you want to trend. You want to have not hit that mark. The focus is not Jesus. The focus is not impact. The focus is, are people watching me? Are people looking at me? And it does nothing for you. It does nothing for you. So do it. Do it like tomorrow you're going to die, Because if anything, this thing of watching other people feeds you the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And it is so paralyzing. You watch and you're like, you weigh and you and you tell yourself you're not gonna do it because you can't. So
Sure.
Unlock the gift. Do what God says you must do. Write the book. Preach.
Write the books.
Preach. Disciple. Go to the hospitals. Leave your phone at home. Do what God says you must do.
Wow. That's powerful. I'm going to ask you one question, and then after that, I'm going to ask, just give some of you, because I could see after the first one that, people were so disappointed. We didn't get a chance to even ask Pastor Ndlela any question. I can see them now, but I'm just going to ask, maybe we'll take 3 hands, right? Because it's already late. But I want to ask you, when your time comes to an end in this world, because I think for all of us at some point, it's either Jesus is going to come or you are going to go. Right? What do you hope your legacy to say about how you use your God-given gifts?
What do I want my legacy to say about how I used
your God-given gifts?
Not for myself, but for others.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, I don't want to be a star. I really, really don't want to be a star. this thing that Umfundisi just said, for people to have been touched and to have seen Christ in me, you know, I was thinking this morning about how God ministers to me about my upbringing, and then will not allow me to speak about it, because at times people will listen to a thing that sounds broken, and then make that your story.
Sure.
And sometimes God is like, shh, don't. Let it minister to you, nje, so that you know, but oh Lord, ungithathela, wangibeka la, and you are fueled up. So I never want people to look at anything, whether I'm sharing something painful or something great, and think, that girl. But to see God, and yeah, I would like people who experience me, yes, to see God, but to remember me for having seen them.
Oh, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have Brother Prince. We have Oyena here, and then we will take Tariro as well.
Firstly, thank you so much. I'm just blown away and like deeply challenged by both conversations that have happened here today. The question that I have is really around the idea of freedom, right? Where for the first time it hit me as you were speaking that like we don't recognize how the things that we are doing today, people like us really never had a chance to do them. And what does it mean for a Black person in South Africa today to steward our freedom correctly? Because like, you know that concept of uhuru, right? I just wrote down like uhuru is a transient outcome. It's consistently changing, it's evolving, it's temporary. So redefining our freedom, even in democracy, right, is something that like is challenging me as I'm listening to you. So I'm asking myself the question, what does it look like to steward this in this time? Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Oh, that's powerful. Then we have Oyena.
Hi everybody. Thank you to all the speakers. There's one thing that I'm seeing as common, talk about purpose evolving, right? And there's a season for an assignment. So I just want to bring people that are like me, where God gives you multiple assignments in a season. There's a concept that says a jack of all trades is a master of none. But when you then wage with what God has given you in that season to steward, you want to spread that out. To start with one thing, finish it, and start another thing. But there's a burden to do a couple of things in one season. So my question is, how do we steward well multiple assignments in a season?
So good.
Wow. Tariro?
Yes. Mine is just a very quick and short one. I think it's just to say, how do you navigate? You just said do it like, just do it, right? Basically, the Nike slogan. But it's a question of how do you balance out wanting to do it with fear, right? Fear of, I suppose, failure. Fear of not being sufficient, fear of just not being good enough, right? You believe and know that you have this calling, blessing thing that you have going on, but how do you overcome the fear? You want to do it, but you don't know how. How do you do it?
I want to start with Tariro's one, because it's so relevant. This week alone, this is my third thing like this. This is lighter, friends, nice. But on Monday, I had to give a presentation, like what do you call that?
Is it a colloquium?
No, when you start at like headliner.
Oh, keynote.
A keynote speak, yeah. So I was a keynote
When's
speaker.
a keynote, guys?
I was a keynote speaker, and I was the only academic psychologist, and there were 3 student psychologists, everyone else was in the mathematics department. Professors, doctors, scary stuff, right? And I didn't want to do it. I was terrified, I was scared, and this was like, no, you can do it. I did it very scared, but I did it, right? I didn't want to go to where I was before here. I went terrified. I didn't really want to sit here today, but I'm doing it terrified. And there's a thing that helps, and for me, it's, you know, God once confronted me and said, a lot of times you say, no, you don't want to do it because you don't want to be seen, and yet it's your pride.
Yo.
And I never, ever want him to say those words. I want to go home now and cry because, oh, what a beautiful day, shower and sleep in peace. I don't want to enter any courts and any offices, right? And so for me, that's the thing. I don't think you, and I mean, it's terrified, but you do what you need to do, and you must do the work. So you must put in the work where you study the word, you pray, and you prepare the presentation. You know, you do what you need to do, right? But I always hold that thing, Uba. At times, me wanting to hide and me hiding behind fear is pride. We are born now. So you have not truly died to yourself, you know. So and it's hard, but we have to do it. I think Brother Prince's one was a comment, right?
It's a question. How do we steward it well?
We have the responsibility to not hurt other people. We have the responsibility to do good by other people. So if I refuse to write an African psychology, 10 years from now, there will be a poor child who's still trying to look for articles to defend to their head of department, to their dean, but we need a sub-discipline, right? And so I have to do this, you know. I have to do it because I've been given that freedom. I have the freedom to do it. So me being aware that UJ was raw just a couple of years ago. That psychology department once endorsed apartheid. I am always aware of that, you know, and for me, it gives me the right kind of anger. You know, like,
Holy anger.
oh, I need that fire in my belly. I need that thing that's gonna make people like, you're gonna write the paper, you're gonna submit. So I think just not hurt, and when I say you have a responsibility not to hurt other people, it's you are hurting other people by not bringing just systems in the financial sector. And those other people are my children, you know? So you have to do the work. Yeah, and how you steward it is like that, constantly being aware, but it was not always like this, you know? So I anxious, but but I think yes, yeah, that's sure. I wondered if Umfundisi would answer Oyen, because I'm going to attempt a small thing and say, I wonder if, because as you're speaking, I thought of myself probably around 2017, where I was establishing myself in academia, but I was doing something at church where I was. So it was different contexts and different assignments. Thankfully for me, Oyena, I don't have to do things. When your work can be seen, you know, sometimes, and sometimes I feel like there's so much pressure when you have to be visible in that way. So for me, it was understanding that I think I was blessed in that it was it's different contexts. And I don't know, as you're speaking, I'm also thinking, and I don't think I'm answering you because I want Mfundisi to answer you. But I'm offering something, and I'm saying, when you listen to yourself, just be sure that you are not acting out of fear, out of anxiety. Because sometimes we can treat God, who gives the assignment, as a boss who's going to punish us. Uba, 2 hours, finish this, yabo. And then we can put ourselves in that corner where you can't freely do one thing that is asked you to do. And what will often happen is that you will do this and you will spill. So my experience is God will give me a big thing, and then will show me how it works at church, how it works at home, and I live then, and that's why I say it's boring sometimes, because I live. Then my life is very kulula. You know, that presentation from Monday, I can take it to this morning, I can take it, and how I'm showing up for my family, how I was showing up for a couple, I was counseling, so it's, so good.
That's powerful. I think that's a good place for us to end our session for today. Can we just appreciate Dr. T